Ahoy there, mateys. It's your brother Dennis. I had an idea. I started this Thicker Than Water Ministries Victims of the Church Facebook page. It's kind of like, in my mind, kind of like an AA for people who have been abused by the church to just come, tell your story, and have people come behind you and be like, yeah, that was messed up. That validation. I think it can be very powerful in the healing process. And so I mean this to be a safe space for people to come and just tell their stories. No emotion. This is the fact of what happened to me. That's in the context of larger wounds inflicted on both the queen, my wife, and I. Uh, the more grievous wounds. There are also many smaller stories that, while they didn't inflict the same emotional, spiritual harm on us, some of the larger things did. It also didn't help. All right. So, a little bit, not even really a spotlight on those, just here's another thing that happened that also contributes to this problem we have. Under that spirit, I'm calling these minor burns. So there won't be a part one, part two to these. They're just small one off stories. I'm going to try to imagine I could keep each one of them to about 15 minutes. This being the first one, it's experimental, and you're the test subject. Hmm. So I'm a socially awkward guy already. Past wounds up to whatever the time is where this happened. I believe it's being 2024 March. I imagine probably a couple years ago, which means probably a little bit longer. Uh, we hadn't been in church in a while. This was post Plumwood and the burns from Plumwood Church. That story, if it hasn't been recorded yet, I don't know what sequence this is going to be. And as I make these and release them, so Plumwood story, if it hasn't already been put out, is coming. Uh, this was after that. We had been out of church. We took a year off from church because we were just like, thanks, but no thanks. And had a team of good Christian people around us so that we could maintain an order, an amount of fellowship that we were comfortable with, but also like generally we're like, man, no. And you get the glad hand when you see people that used to go to church with them. Oh, the oh hi, we call it. Oh hi. So you can catch up on all the things we've been doing. So you can go run back and tell everybody we used to hang out with what we're doing. You're busted. Revived Baptist Church. I remember taking walks in downtown London and seeing that the bank had closed. And people who know me, who know my counseling style, when they're getting ready to share a thing with me that is sensitive nature, the thing I say to people is, it goes in the vault. And so I thought it'd be cool to take the bank as a church and have the pastor's office actually in the vault. So it's like figurative and literal. I thought it'd be a cool thing. So when Revive went in there, I thought, oh, cool. Somebody else had the same idea I did. We hadn't been in church in a while. So we're like, let's pack up. It was just the Queen and I. The boy, is old enough. Brandon was also out of school by this time, too. In the last 3 to 5, we'll say, so I can get that out of my head, tell a story. So we popped in there on a Sunday morning. Parking wasn't hard, although parking in downtown London's weird. We parked close, wasn't a far walk. People greeted us outside. There's a young guy who was a pastor. No one knows his name offhand. It's been long enough ago that I've forgotten his name. A good environment there, generally speaking. It wasn't all gray hairs, which, no offense to gray hairs. The sermon was, it was good. I'm critical. I'm very critical of speakers. Nobody can do it as good as me except the people that can. uh, I don't recall any filler words, which is a real pet peeve of mine. And if you don't know what you're up there saying, then sit down. And if you didn't work on this and aren't prepared, go sit down. And so filler words is I'm like immediately critical of that, and I don't recall any. I don't know that it's been long enough ago. I don't remember the content of the message, but the point being, it wasn't bad. The Queen and I put my arm around the Queen. I was like, this actually isn't bad. People seem friendly, and the customary at the beginning of service, turn around, shake your neighbor's hand, say hi. Uh, I'm never awkward during that. I'm going to make you awkward because I'm so. I don't know how to communicate to people. I mean, I do, but I don't. It's a weird thing to explain. I don't want to waste time here with it, but uh, I get to know the people around me. Hey, I might not see you again. Who am I sitting around? Is this a tribe I want to belong to? I promise you, anybody who visits your church, or you're a person who has a church, and new people are coming into your church, they're going to decide within the first 10 minutes of walking in those doors if they're going to ever come back. And what's not helpful, a genuine, hey, good to have you this morning versus, oh my, like the yellow dudes in the bottom of the Toy Story, ooh, the cloud, someone from the outside. You can tell. We didn't feel any of that there. It seemed natural. It was cool. He approached us after service and was like, hey, what are you doing after service today? I'm like, oh, we ain't nothing. What you see? And he invites us to get together and have lunch with us. I was like, well, that's cool. I remember thinking, I mentioned to the Queen as we were on the way there, like, uh, when I was pastoring, that would have been a neat thing for me to do. And new people come, hey, let me tag a new person in right away. And we could have gone out more. Church could have probably covered that. I don't know if they'd have covered it or not, but might have been a neat thing to do. So it was a nod, like, oh, cool. Yeah, we'll take advantage of that. I even conspired with the dude. He asked what we were hungry for. I was like, dude, if you're buying, I don't care. And he's like, well, I'm a Mexican, but I don't know if I can talk to the Queen into or not. And I said, boom, that was my suggestion. Mexican is exactly what I need today. He laughed. He was like, cool, man, this is going to be great. I asked him, have people in your family, we'll go ahead and get a table. So we found out and went to the mariachis in London. Not a place I typically go. It's just because it's not my flavor, not because I have any beef with it, because I've ate good anytime I've been there. Just not a place I frequent. Uh, we got there, set up the table, got our drinks. We're sitting there waiting and waiting and waiting. Dude pulls up. I look out to look out the window. Like, is the dude in here? Like, what happened? Miscommunicated. Maybe he got hung up talking to people. I used to be a pastor. What it's like. Uh, he walks in with another family. So I'm like, okay, cool. So he's coming in. He just goes to another place in the restaurant and sits down with that other family. I'm like, I go back to the Queen. We're sitting there with our drinks. Like, that's weird. I'm not exactly sure what we're supposed to do here. An already socially awkward dude and my poor Queen. Uh, so we got our drinks and walked over, kind of like, what's going on here? And he's like, oh, you guys can join us. It's hard videoing what the seating arrangement, how it wound up when we sat down with these guys. But we were on this, so there's two tables, okay? This end of the table, I'm on this corner, and his, I don't know, probably at the time 7 or 8-year-old kid sitting across the table from me. Queen is next to me. He pastors across from her, his wife, and then this family. They literally sat sitting sideways, facing that family at the other end of the table. Okay? Anybody who knows Dennis Craig McFarland will tell you that I will never be the person that made to feel awkward in a situation like that. I'm going to double down. So I'm like, cool. I'm going to sit here and talk to this kid. And so the Queen and I are talking to the kid. What's it like being a pastor's son? And inevitably, the conversation made its way to Mortal Kombat because it's me talking to a kid. Who's your go-to guy? As I recall, he was a guru. The forearms, the brute. I'm like, man, I'm a Raiden every time. I will spark you every time. I will disappear and reappear behind you and zap you. Well, that was a spirited conversation. The guy had basically ignored us through the whole dinner, and Melinda and I were just like, well, whatever, it's free lunch. Ain't our first church awkward lunch or dinner. And but we got to talking about Mortal Kombat and having a spirited conversation about it. Then he leans over and looks at our conversation and looks at the boy and literally says to him, "Did you tell him about your grandpa's chickens?" I looked, even his son looked at him like, "What? Are you not listening to the conversation we're having here?" Uh, it was awkward, and it's a not sure how to get out of that situation because I am grateful for the lunch, but the social awkwardness made it suck, so I didn't really enjoy it, and now I'm just looking for an exit. Thankfully, in my heart, I'm trying to like go out and get out of this, and um, I know another pastor friend I didn't see sitting there by the grace of God stood up with his wife and was walking out and caught my attention as he was leaving. It was like, dude. And so I stood up and hugged him, and the wife stood up and it gave us the perfect, like, oh, good. Hey, we were just going to leave anyway, man. Hey, thanks for lunch. See you later. Boom. And we got out. That was weird. We went home. The Queen and I, man, we're so used to this kind of treatment in the church. Church denominations don't matter. People suck. Uh, that was awkward. So we haven't been back, and we'll probably not go back there. And I don't know if it's even the same guy there still or not, but we healed from it and moved on. Once again, these are minor burns. It's just a thing that contributed to the problem. It didn't help. Uh, I love you. Nobody has told you today I love you, and you're right. If you feel hurt, you're right.